Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take. How your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. I like this one. It's National Sourdough Bread Day. Although, you know, I think I could eat sourdough bread. I could almost any bread I like. But sourdough bread, if you know, I wonder if they still have it in San Francisco. It used to be the best place in the world to go get sourdough bread. Just the bread, butter on it. Can't go wrong with sourdough bread. Now, you know, I don't know if I'm going to get this in today because it's a tough day. A lot going on. National Walking Day. I do that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I don't know about National Walking Day. We'll skip that one. Let's see what the markets are doing today. Well, we're looking at the markets. They are in the green. Everything's in the green that we want to be in the green. So we're looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 495 points. The NASDAQ is up 362 points. The S&P 500 is up 86 points. Oil is down. That one is down $1.50 a barrel.
Ow!
Whoops, no, we like it as Yahoo. Not ow. Stop that. And gold, it's up $111, $112 an ounce. Unconfirmed, but apparently China is at it. China is selling gold. They're selling their crypto because they need cash. They need dollars. They're having to spend more money because no more cheap Venezuelan oil for China, so they don't get to just keep on manipulating the gold market. I didn't know the exact source of where all that gold was going to, why that demand was so high, why the price was rising. But if you do remember, about a month and a half ago, we did say oil had doubled over the course of 1 year, and it was not sustainable. So we're watching that. We see that it's going down. Today it's up a little bit, but we're watching. It's up about 2.3%. 10-year Treasury, that one is up. It's pretty flat on the day for the 10-year Treasury. And the mortgage bond, once again, that one is up. Now, we like when that mortgage bond goes up because when that bond goes up, rates go down. It's a mathematic equation. And we'll talk more about that in the mortgage minute as to what's driving that, what's doing that. I was starting to see maybe we're getting closer to the end of the conflict in Iran. And I think we might see some interesting market moving news. The president's having a prime time address this evening at 6:00 here on the West Coast. Now, I don't like the idea. I won't be able to watch it. Tonight is the first night of Passover, so we'll be celebrating that, not watching the president, but we'll get the reports on it, see what he has to say. But it seems some of the leading information seems that, the president might be talking about the United States leaving NATO. Now, would that be good or bad? Well, we spend an awful lot of money on NATO. And when NATO calls, the U.S. answers. But when the U.S. calls the rest of the countries, the members of NATO, well, not only did they not come to help us, they actually got in the way. So what do I mean by that? Well, they put roadblocks. They said we couldn't fly over their airspace. We couldn't use the airspace for the bases that we have in their countries. So why do we spend so much money, trillions of dollars, on maintaining those bases to protect them when they're nowhere to be found when the U.S. sees a imminent threat? Now, you can debate whether we had an imminent threat in Iran or not. The person who has the most knowledge of it, and I know I'm just a media guy, and so is everybody else you're listening to, unless they're social media, and then they know less than the media. But we don't know as much as the president knows. He said there's an imminent threat. Some of the people that have the inside information say there's an imminent threat. You get some of these biased politicians, oh, no imminent threat. Although, that cruise missile that went 2,500 miles, yeah, that could hit London. It could hit Paris. So sounds like an imminent threat to me. But, I'm just a guy doing a little radio and leading a lending team. I do look at gas prices on a regular basis. So gas prices in the formerly Golden State up about $1 a gallon from this time last year. Nationally up about 85 cents from this time last year. And yes, California still leads the way. The Gavin tax. Yes, Gavin Newsom has that taxes and fees that he signed. Have you ever seen a tax or a fee that Gavin didn't want to be a part of? National average, gallon of gasoline, $4.06. Right here in the formerly Golden State, $5.89 a gallon. Ow! Yeah, that's painful. But hopefully, and I looked at it this morning, we're looking at oil being down about $1.30 a gallon. So if they get the Strait of Hormuz opened and we get safe passage of ships going through there, oil prices will drop and gas prices will drop. Now, gas prices don't drop as quickly. Prices don't improve bit on the upside or the downside. They don't improve as quickly as they will deteriorate. So the oil prices go up on the elevator, they come down on the stairs. We'll be watching that. Got watching a lot of stuff here today. We've got a whole lot of news that came out this morning, and we're going to talk about that. We've got the ADP jobs report, retail sales. We've got Fed speakers out there, all out there bloviating on their commentary. ISM manufacturing. It's all things moving the market, along with the key thing is Iran and oil prices. We're watching all of it. We give you the information. And don't forget, if you locked in a loan in the last 2 to 3 weeks, well, mortgage rates are improving right now. And you might want to take advantage of the Second Look program, rsrlinks.com/2ndlook, rsrlinks.com/second look, where we do take a look at these things for you. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, your credit denial to credit approval and 12-month rebuilding roadmap. We'll talk about it. Don't let home prices headlines fool you. What if your tax strategy is missing the biggest write-off change in years? All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 0186945. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payments. What did rates do yesterday? Let's take a look at them. Most of them were down. Nice. We like that. Conventional 30-year fixed, 6.351. That was down. Jumbo 30-year fixed, 6.546. That was down. FHA 30-year fixed, 6.069. That was down. VA 30-year fixed, 5.965. That was down. And the USDA 30-year fixed, 6.094. That one was up. That's the only one that was up. Those are the numbers you put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. If you don't have a mortgage calculator, rsrlinks.com/calculators. rsrlinks.com/calculators. We've got a whole suite there. Some are good for the consumers. Some of them are good for the CPAs and the financial planners. We've got them all right there. All you have to do is ask, and we give those to you. Some of them need some education on them because they do get pretty complex. Now, if you want our thoughts about the market each and every business day morning as early as the data allows, we have that for you as well. rsrlinks.com/HBOD, rsrlinks.com/HBOD, and that's the Ron Siegel Radio community. So let's take a look at what the markets are doing today. The S&P 500 is now up 84 points. 10-year Treasury, that one is pretty flat, 4.311 is where that's sitting, and the mortgage bond is up 15 basis points. Bond up, rates down. Now, when it's going up 15 basis points, that's not a huge move, but it's still something worth looking at, and we do. Why is this happening? Because those numbers there are all available on that super secret website, google.com. Stocks higher, mortgage bonds are higher as well. Mortgage bonds were higher, yields were lower on optimism that the war would be over soon. Well, we got some stronger than expected ADP and retail sales reports. Minimize the gain a little bit. President Trump stated that will end the war in 2 to 3 weeks with or without a deal regarding the Strait of Hormuz. But there are mixed signals. Surprise, surprise with this president.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
It's being reported that the new Iranian leader wants a ceasefire. But President Trump said that would only come if the strait were opened. And at the same time, a third aircraft carrier is heading to the Gulf. President Trump will address the nation at 6 o'clock tonight. That's Pacific time, to go over an update on the war, something that could impact the markets tomorrow. He also says, or information is, he may also be looking at a commentary on his disapproval or displeasement with NATO. ADP released their March jobs report showing that there were 62,000 jobs created, stronger than the 40,000 expected, but still a weak number, especially when looking at the breakdown of jobs. Almost all the jobs came from education and health services, which added 58,000 jobs. Without education and health services, which is not economically sensitive, job growth in aggregate was almost zero. 3 out of every 4 jobs over the past 2 years came from education and health sector. Both medium and large-sized businesses shed jobs, while all the gains from the small businesses with 1 to 19 employees. Turning to wages, workers staying at the same job saw their wages increase by 4.5% year over year, which was unchanged from the previous report. But job switchers, those changing jobs, saw their pay increase 6.6% from last year, which was an increase from 6.3% previously. Retail sales rose 0.6% in February, which was stronger than the 0.5% expected. This too weighed on the bond market. The core index, which is most important and is plugged into GDP, rose 0.5%, which was stronger than the 0.3% expected. There was a 0.1% negative revision to January, which tempers this gain a bit, but it was still a beat. One caveat: the report was for February, before the rise in oil prices and gas prices in March. Next month's report, which will capture some of this, will likely be much weaker as consumers must spend more on essentials like food and gas and less on discretionary items. Mortgage applications from the Mortgage Bankers Association last week showed that interest rates rose from 6.43% to 6.57%. As expected, the rise caused a decline in application activity. Purchases fell 3% last week, but are still up 1% year over year. Refinances, being more rent sensitive, fell 17%, but are still up 33% from this time last year. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com. GetHomeSelect.com. You're a business owner. You buy equipment, you upgrade your office. Maybe you picked up a new work truck this year. And for years, the tax code gave you a nice reward for that. You could write off the full cost of those purchases in year one, just like that, 100%. But here's the thing, that benefit, it's going away. And most business owners I've talked to have no idea how fast. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. So let's talk about what's called bonus depreciation. Because if you own a business, this affects your bottom line right now. For years, the tax code allowed you to deduct 100% of the cost of qualifying business assets in the first year you put them into service. You buy a $50,000 piece of equipment, you deduct $50,000 that year. Simple, powerful, great for cash flow. But starting in 2023, Congress put this benefit on a phase-down schedule, and it drops 20 percentage points every single year. So here's what the schedule looks like. 2023, you could deduct 80%. In 2024, it dropped to 60%. For 2025, we're down to 40%. Next year, or this year, 2026, it falls to just 20%. And by 2027, zero, nothing, nada, unless Congress decides to extend it. And I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Now, think about what that means. If you're buying equipment, vehicles, computers, office furniture, or even making improvements to the interior of a commercial property, the tax benefit of doing it sooner rather than later is significant. Every year you wait, you lose another 20 points of that first year deduction. So what qualifies? Most tangible business assets with a useful life of 20 years or less. Think machinery, computers, office furniture, certain business vehicles. If you've done interior upgrades to a non-essential property, things like new lighting, HVAC systems, renovations, those count too under what's called qualified improvement property. Even some types of business software can qualify. What doesn't qualify? Real estate itself, building, land, anything with a useful life over 20 years. Those are off the table. Now, here's a detail a lot of people miss for 2025 specifically. There's a transitional election that lets taxpayers choose between 40% or 60% bonus depreciation on certain property placed in service after January 19th. But if you put something in service between January 1st and January 19th, you're locked in at 40%. Your CPA needs to know about this because the timing of when an asset goes into service matters. So what does this mean for you as a business owner? It means the clock is ticking on one of the most powerful tax tools available to you. And it means you need to be thinking strategically about when you make major purchases, not just whether to buy, but when to buy. And here's where I want to connect the dots to something most business owners never think about. You're smart about your business tax strategy, your timing asset purchases. You're working with your CPA to maximize deduction. But let me ask you this. Are you being equally logical or strategic about your mortgage? Because here's where I see a lot of time. A business owner will spend hours figuring out how to save $15,000 on equipment depreciation and then completely ignore the fact that their mortgage structure is costing them tens of thousands of dollars in lost opportunity every single year. If you're the kind of person who thinks about cash flow, about keeping your money working for you, about being strategic rather than just reactive, then you need to look at how your mortgage fits into your total financial picture. I work with business owners who already understand that cash flow is king. They get the concept, and when I show them how a wealth builder loan works, how it calculates interest on average daily balance instead of traditional amortization schedule, the light bulb goes on because it's the same principle. Keep your money working as hard and as long as possible before it goes out the door. Most of my clients who use this strategy pay off their home in 6 to 8 years, and they do it without giving up access to their money. That's the key. They keep full liquidity the entire time. So if you're already thinking strategically about bonus depreciation and tax timing, I want you to take the same mindset and apply it to the biggest liability on your balance sheet, your mortgage. Go to homeselect.com. That's gethomeselect.com. Take 5 minutes to see how the Wealth Builder loan works. If you're already thinking like a strategist with your business, it's time to think like one with your home. Now remember, I am not a CPA and we are not giving tax advice here. I do know several CPAs that I can put you in touch with. We give educational advice. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by gethomeselect.com, gethomeselect.com. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, don't let home prices headlines fool you. From credit denial to credit approval, the 12-month rebuilding roadmap. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Don't let home price headlines fool you. Spend about 5 minutes online searching for news about the housing market, and odds are you'll see something pop up about home prices. You may even stumble onto social media influencers saying we're headed for a crash. Let's get you the context you need. The truth is, prices are going to vary depending on where you live, but they're not crashing. Here's what you need to know. The biggest thing feeding into the confusion online is how different home price trends are by area right now. Take a look at this data from Resi Club and Zillow. It's a graph we're showing you if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk, AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feed. About half the largest metros are seeing prices go up. The other half are seeing some declines. Unfortunately, the online chatter only focuses on the markets where prices are down, and that makes it sound like something bigger is happening. But as you can see in the graph, that's only one side of the story. The full picture is different. The national perspective, moderate price growth. As a country, when you average it all together to get the true baseline, one thing becomes clear. Home prices are still net positive at the national level, according to Redfin. National home prices were up about 1% year over year in February. So what we're seeing right now isn't a collapse. It's a market that's normalizing after a period of unusually fast growth. And that impacts some local markets more than others, particularly those where prices rose too far, too fast during the pandemic. A true crash like what happened in 2008 would mean prices dropping sharply across the entire country. That's just not what the data shows today, and it's not where things are going either. Experts agree this is not 2008. In fact, Fannie Mae surveyed over 100 housing market experts to ask their opinions on where prices are headed from here. And the experts agree. Nationally, prices are expected to keep pushing over the next 5 years. And you're seeing that on the chart that we've got on our socials, RonSiegelRadio.tv, ABC News and Talk AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feed, that the rise will be moderate, particularly this year, but the trend is clear. Nationally, prices are forecast to grow every year now through at least 2030, and that's normal. Daryl Fairweather, chief economist at Redfin, explains, quote, house prices aren't going to fall on a national scale anytime soon, and that's actually a good thing. It's normal for house prices to rise gradually over time, unquote. That's why even in select areas where prices have dropped slightly this year, the decline is expected to be temporary. According to that same quarterly Fannie Mae survey mentioned above, 85% of the experts say the markets that are seeing mild declines right now will return to positive price growth before the end of 2027. The main takeaway, this is not a crash, and prices are not expected to fall nationally. If anything, the few areas experiencing declines are expected to rebound in the next year or so. Bottom line, it's easy to get caught up in headlines that make it sound like something big is about to happen. But don't be fooled. The housing market is not crashing. It's just shifting. The key is understanding what's actually happening in your market so you can make the right move for you. Got questions? Let's connect. If you want the local perspective, we've got all that information, and we can put you in touch with great real estate professionals anywhere within the sound of my voice. I do have their report cards. No, I'm not a teacher, but I've got their report cards to tell you what's going on in the market. That's the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. And let's see, Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. You're looking at your credit report and your stomach drops. Collections you forgot about, late payments from 3 years ago, maybe a charge-off you thought was handled, and now you're wondering, is this fixable or am I stuck? I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Here's the thing most people don't realize about credit. Your credit score is not a permanent record. It's not carved in stone. It's more like a rolling snapshot of your recent financial behavior. And the system is actually designed to give more weight to what you're doing right now than what happened years ago. So if you're sitting there with a score in the 500s or low 600s, I want you to hear me clearly. This is fixable. People bounce back from the 500s into the 700s. It happens every single day. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens with a plan. So let's talk about where to start. Step one is simple, but most people skip it. Pull your credit reports, all 3 of them. You can get them free every week now at annualcreditreport.com, annualcreditreport.com. You need all 3 because Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion don't always have the same information. A collection might show up on one report, but not the others. A late payment might be reported differently across bureaus. You need the full picture before you can build a strategy. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Once you have those reports in front of you, you're going to find that not everything on there is accurate. The FTC found that roughly 1 in 5 consumers had an error on at least one credit report. 1 in 5. That's not a small number. So you might be getting punished for something that isn't even correct. And I'm going to submit, I've looked at hundreds, maybe thousands of credit reports. I think the number is more like 1 in 5 are accurate, not 1 in 5 have errors, because I have never seen one that's completely accurate. What kind of errors? Accounts that aren't yours? A paid debt is still showing a balance? A collection that's older than 7 years should have fallen off by now? Duplicate listings where the same debt shows up twice? These are all disputable under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The bureaus have 30 days to investigate once you file a dispute. And if they can't verify them, they have to remove them. That's not a suggestion. That's the law. Now, I want to be really clear about something. I'm not talking about those companies that promise to erase accurate negative information from your report for a fee. Nobody can legally do that. If you actually missed payments, that's going to stay on your report for up to 7 years. What I'm talking about is making sure your report is accurate. There's a big difference between correcting mistakes and trying to game the system. Now, the law says it must be complete, it must be accurate, and it must be verifiable. If the agency doesn't verify it, or if it's not complete, if it's not accurate, it must be removed. And like our friends over at Blue Water Credit, they understand these things and they understand how to use them to benefit you. So what about the stuff that is accurate? The late payments that really happen, the collections that are legitimately yours. You have options there too. And first, I want to be clear that I'm not giving legal advice here, but you should be aware of the statute of limitations in your state. Every state has a time limit on how long a creditor or collector can take you to court over a debt. If that window is closed, your negotiating position changes significantly. But talk to a qualified attorney if you're dealing with that situation, because the rules vary state by state and the details matter. Second, if a collector contacts you, don't just pay without asking questions. You have the right to request debt validation. Make them prove you owe what they say you owe, that they have the right to collect it, and that the amount is correct. Send that request in writing within 30 days of first contact. If the debt checks out, then you decide. Pay in full if you can. Negotiate a settlement if you can't. Sometimes collectors will accept 30 to 50 cents on the dollar. And here's a pro tip. Always get the agreement in writing before you send a dime. Verbal promises from collection agencies aren't worth the air they're spoken into. Now let's talk about rebuilding, because cleaning up the negatives is only half the equation. You also need to start adding positive information to your credit file. The single fastest thing you can do, get your credit card utilization below 30%. Below 10% is even better if you have a card with a $1,000 limit and you're carrying a $900 balance. That's killing your score right now. That's a 90% utilization. 900 divided by 1,000. Pay that down, you can see the score jump in as little as one reporting cycle. Pay it before the statement closing date, and we show you how to do that. rsrccpayment.com, rsrccpayment.com. If you don't have any open credit accounts, consider a secured credit card. You put down a deposit, say $300, and that becomes your credit limit. Use it for one small purchase a month, pay it off in full. And you're building positive payment history every single month. Within 6 to 12 months, many banks will graduate you to a regular unsecured card and give your deposit back. And while you're at it, go to rsrlinks.com/FICO, rsrlinks.com/FICO, and check your actual FICO score, not a Vantage, not an estimate, your real FICO, because that's what most lenders are actually using when they make decisions about your mortgage, your car loan, your insurance rates. You need to know your real numbers so you can track your progress. Set up an auto pay on everything. I mean, everything, even if it's just the minimum payment, because your payment history is 35% of your FICO score. That's the single biggest factor. One missed payment can drop your score 50 points or more. Auto pay is your safety net. Here's what I want you to take away from today. Bad credit is not a character flaw. It's a situation, and situations can be changed, but you need a roadmap. You need to know exactly what's on your reports, what's accurate, what needs to be disputed, what needs to be negotiated, and how to start stacking positive credit history on top of the old negatives. That's exactly what we help people do. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps, That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. We'll walk you through the next steps, help you build a budget, and put together a strategy that's specific to your situation, not a cookie cutter plan, a real plan based on where you are right now and where you need to be. Because here's the truth that nobody in this industry wants to tell you. Your credit score is just a tool. And like any tool, once you understand how it works, you can make it work for you instead of against you. That's what strategic debt management is all about. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, nobody told this family their extra mortgage payments were hurting them. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. When was the last time you sat down and had an honest conversation with your money? Not just checked your bank balance, but really looked at where you stand financially. Most people treat their finances like that friend they keep meaning to call back, but never do. And that silence, it's costing you. I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. And you know, we talk a lot on this show about strategy, about making your money work for you instead of the other way around. And today I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but almost nobody does. I want you to check in on your financial relationship. What do I mean by that? Think about it this way. If you're in a relationship with another person, you know it takes communication. It takes regular check-ins. You can't just ignore someone for 6 months and expect things to be great, right? Your finances work the same way. Money is one of the biggest sources of stress in households across the country. And it's not because people don't earn enough. It's because they don't have a strategy. They don't have a plan. They're reacting to bills instead of directing their wealth. So here's what I want you to do. And this is not complicated. This is 3 steps you can take this week. First, check your credit score. I'm not talking about obsessing over it every day, but when was the last time you actually looked at it? Your credit score is like a report card on how lenders see you. And here's the thing most people don't realize. A 50-point difference in your score can mean tens of thousands of dollars over the life of a mortgage. That's real money. That's vacations. That's your kids' college funds. That's retirement. You can pull your free credit report at annualcreditreport.com. And if you want quick and easy way to check your FICO score right now, go to rsrlinks.com/FICO. That's rsrlinks.com/FICO. It takes 2 minutes and it's not real expensive. Second, set some goals. I don't mean vague goals like save more money. I mean specific written goals. If you're in a relationship, sit down together and talk about what you want your money to do for you. If you're on your own, even better. You get to make all the decisions, but write them down. A goal that lives only in your head isn't a goal, it's a wish. Third, and this is the one that catches people off guard, review your credit report for errors. I've been doing this for over 4 decades, and you would not believe how many times I've seen errors on credit reports that are dragging people's score down. Outdated accounts, incorrect balances, sometimes accounts that aren't even yours. These mistakes are more common than you think, and they're costing you money every single day they sit there. How about if you got a common name, John Smith, Juan Garcia, all of those things, they are very, very common, and credit gets mixed up. Now, let me connect this back to what we talk about on this show. Knowing your credit score is important. Setting goals is important. What really matters is having a better strategy that ties all of it together. I had a family come to me recently, good income, both working, but they had no idea what their household blended interest rate was. They were making extra payments on their mortgage because someone told them that was smart. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's what they didn't realize. They were draining their liquidity. They were locking money inside the walls of their house where they couldn't touch it without refinancing or selling. We sat down on a Zoom call, looked at the full picture, and built a strategy, not a product, a strategy. We looked at their safety, their liquidity, and their rate of return. And within one conversation, they understood why the approach they'd been taking was actually working against them. That's what a certified liability advisor does. We don't just look at rates. Rates are one piece of the puzzle. We look at suitability. Is this loan, this payment structure, this approach actually suitable for your household, not just eligible, suitable? There's a big difference. Here's what I want you to do right now. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You'll find the tools and the next steps to start building a real financial strategy. Not for your household, not a guess, not a hope, a strategy. Take care of your money relationship this week. Sit down with it. Have a conversation. You'll be glad you did. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. So let's talk about that money strategy with our Home Select product. So it is the Wealth Builder Loan. It is something that very, very few people offer and even less people understand. Because even in this environment where interest rates are higher than they've been, or as high as they've been over time, over the last several years, well, the Wealth Builder Loan helps you pay off your loan quicker, and making your money work for you better. See, it's a storage facility for your money. You have an emergency fund, store it in the Wealth Builder. You get a paycheck, put it in the Wealth Builder. You get some a bonus, put it in the Wealth Builder. You get your tax return, your refund, put it in the Wealth Builder. While it sits there not being used, you're not paying interest on your home loan for that period of time. It is a great tool because you keep the liquidity and you keep the benefits. Now, what I want you to understand here is, again, you have to qualify for this one. It's not the easiest loan to qualify for. It's not the hardest. You need to have income and you need to have a 700 FICO score. You need to own real estate. But because of the way it works, because your interest, your principal payment is paid down, maybe just for a day or two or 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever, but you've got all that money that was sitting in your zero-bearing interest account or checking account or your low-bearing interest savings account or even a money market account. Well, you put the money into the Wealth Builder and it saves you the interest on your home loan. So where you may have had a 7% loan, 6.5% loan, whatever the number is, well, now you're not paying anything for however many days that money is sitting there. It's a sweep account. When you have excess money, it sweeps into the mortgage, pay it down. When you don't have the excess money, it sweeps back out of the mortgage and into your checking account so you pay your bills. That's why you're not making extra payments, yet you are getting your house paid off 6, 8, 10 years on that 30-year loan. And we see frequently the effective interest rates being in the 2%, 1 and a fraction, 2.5. I think the last one I saw was 1.77 was the effective interest rate. Now, I'm not offering you a loan here. I'm educating you on the Wealth Builder because it is a very, very unique product. And I want to make sure that you understand it. If you want a simulation of your scenario, that's simple. All you have to do is call me at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And as we come into the home selling season, don't forget, we just did a revision, an update on our Sales Max program. How are you going to maximize the sales price of your property? rsrlinks.com/salesmax, rsrlinks.com/salesmax. You got to get the property seen by the most people. How do you do that? Well, we walk you through all the steps in detail in the new program or the revision we did. We've been telling you about this Sales Max program for years. We just updated it because there are some new tools that are available. And no, I don't list real estate. I have a real estate license, but I understand how to do marketing. And I understand how to put you in touch with tremendous real estate agents in your market, in your area, who can help you follow the strategies that we talk about. rsrlinks.com/salesmax, rsrlinks.com/salesmax. What are the strategies? Get the real estate community, the entire real estate community, working hard for you. Make your property number one on their list. How do you make them number one on your list? Very simple. Pay them more than anybody else pays them. When you pay them more to get you number one on the list, well, they're going to work harder for you. When they work harder for you, the price of the property goes up. The amount they sell it for goes up. So if you pay them 4% instead of what a lot of agents want to do or people want to do, 1.5%, 2.5%, well, you're going to pay them 4%. We explain it to you in how to do it in the video within rsrlinks.com/salesmax. So you're going to pay more. When you pay more, you're going to be the top of the list of everything every real estate agent in the area wants to show. Now, I think the last time I saw, there's about 1 million agents or 1.5 million real estate agents in California. When they see 4% on $1 million listing instead of 2%, that's $40,000 to them instead of $20,000, or 2.5%, $25,000. They're more incentivized to go show that property to anybody that meets the suitability requirements for that property. And don't let me hear that they say, oh, well, it's not ethical to do that. Well, if you can't take care of your family, how can you take care of mine? Think of it that way. Go and get the strategy, and we'll show it all right to you. rsrlinks.com/salesmax. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.